Hello, everyone. Is your toxic job stealing your joy? This is for Black women in toxic jobs. This is a part two panel discussion. So, if you're watching this discussion right now and you're like, man, this job I got is draining all the life and joy out of my body, then you are in the right place. You are here to hear from Black women who have all learned to center joy, and they are here to share with you about how to connect to your joy. Because the first panel we talked about ways that Black women might experience difficulties connecting to joy. We're too busy, we got too much going on, all those social messages that we've received as Black women about why joy is not as important to us or not accessible to us. We dispelled that in part one. So if you haven't seen part one, go see that. I'll put it in the description section. So today we're going to talk about how to connect to your joy. So you're going to learn from each of the Black women here. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor. More importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I am also the co-host with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, which has already passed. We ushered over 300 Black women to freedom. That is now available on replay, which you are able to purchase. And today, until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, we are having a Juneteenth celebration 20% discount. Okay. So if you want to get the discount of the replay, get that. And I'll put the banner up so you know how to get that. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to my panel for them to introduce themselves. And I'm going to just call them off as I see them on my screen. Just like with previous panels, the panelists may not respond to every question. They choose which questions that they're going to respond to. Okay. So Angela, you're up first.
Hey, everyone. I'm Angela Fraser. I'm a joy strategist. I help women who are in what I call the wisdom phase of life really lean into their joy. And joy to me is authenticity, liberation, and courage. It's not the happy thing, the kind of spike thing. It's a deep well of fulfillment. And I want these women to feel it deeply.
I like that. Wisdom phase of life. I'm going to be borrowing that. Okay. I love that.
Or you
Okay. Woo-hoo. Okay. Lola.
Hi, you guys. I'm Lola Troy. I am the curator and CEO. I call myself the Chief Inspirational Officer of Heal Black Joy. I am all things Black joy, especially when it comes to Black women specifically. Hold on, you guys.
Oh, siren. It seems like those things happen just to kind of mess up our joy, but we're not going to let it destroy our joy. We're just going to pivot around it. That's all.
We're not going to let that siren mess up our joy. That siren is a siren call for all women, specifically Black
That's
women,
right.
to
Let that
find their
pivot.
joy, get their
Yes.
joy, and sustain their joy.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Lola. April.
Gotta unmute myself here first. Hey, I am Prill, and I serve as a beacon for Black women as they begin to fully embrace their worth. They begin prioritizing themselves without guilt and begin to live a life that is full of ease and joy.
Okay, Beacon. Okay. I appreciate that. I received that. Okay, Shauna.
I had to do it, y'all. Like, leave me alone. I had to do it.
You represent joy. Of course you do. Yes.
It's like, oh, I'm a joy. No, we joy up in here, all right?
Yes. We embody it.
So my name is Shauna Howard. I am, let's see. Oh, goodness. I'm so many things. I'm happy. I'm blessed. I'm here. I'm Black. I'm female. I'm everything. I am a positive psychology practitioner, and as of recently, I am a joy ambassador. Thank you, Dr. Kamani. I love it. I am so excited to talk about the science behind thriving, the science behind happiness, specifically for Black women. So I'm always honored, Dr. Kimani, that you invite me. I'm always excited to be in a space with happy and joyful Black women to talk about how did we get here? Like how with everything that has occurred to Black women over generations, how did the five of us get to the point where we're able to usher joy as a value, as a principle, as something that is worthy of having that into our other Black women, sisters, aunties, nieces, what have you. So thank you again for inviting me, and let's get talking here.
Let's do this, right? So I just want to say thank you in advance to my panelists. And, when we talk about joy, we want to be clear and say that it's not that we expect everybody to be like, oh, like life is grand, everything's good, like you're not thinking about any problems you have in your life. What we're saying is that you can still experience joy despite of or in spite of all that you're going through. Because as Black women, we are juggling a whole bunch all the time, okay? So we're going to talk to you about how to connect to joy, even if you got a whole bunch of stuff going on, okay? Even if you got a whole many challenges going on, you could still find ways to connect to your joy. And we're going to share with you the how, because you may be watching this right now and be like, dang, I don't experience joy in my life. I don't even know how to connect to that. Well, you know what? You're going to learn today, okay? So panelists, if you can share, how is it that you have learned to connect to joy in light of challenges you may have in your life, barriers to joy you may have encountered? How have you done this?
I'm gonna hop on and this morning before I even got out of bed, I could tell that I number my days. It was like I was feeling like a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. I was feeling like, and I investigated what that was all about, and that to me is is something that I use and I have my clients use to be aware of throughout the day. Like, where are you vibrating? What number are you feeling? 0 being, or 1 being I just want to go back into bed. Let me start over. And 10 being completely in your groove. Everything is running smooth. You just, oh my God, Lord.
You're on fire.
On fire. And so a 2 is very low. And the thing, number 1, is to, I've reached this point in my life where I check in on myself, right? And that is probably the most important thing, is to be self-aware.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of flow in this world, and you're getting all these inputs, and there are all these people, you're the only one of you, everyone else is an other. And there's all this stuff going on inside you. You're your own little ecosystem. And we need to know ourselves first. And that's the journey that I've been on, is understanding myself, becoming amazed by myself. I'm literally amazed at what I do, and what I do naturally well. And that allows me to be amazed by other people, right? But it starts with being amazed by myself, because once you get that, then it's like, well, I know, for example, my best friend is very different from me. If I wasn't amazed by her, I wouldn't really have her as my bestie. Do you know what I mean? So my journey has brought me to being amazed by myself. And by doing so, I show up as my best self for other people. That is the only way that I can show up as my best self, is when I'm amazed by myself. So as we proceed in this conversation, I'll talk to you about how I shifted from 2 to now a 9. And I was a 9 before coming here. I'm probably a 10 now, because I'm looking at all of you and I'm really excited about the space that you've created, Dr. Kimani. But I'll talk to you about that as the conversation unfolds.
I love that. Okay, I want to recap, right? Just so everybody can hear what you said. So, the importance of checking in with yourself. So, self assessment, not only when you wake up, but throughout the day, and to have a sense of curiosity and investigate why am I a little like, what's going on, right? Just interrogate what's going on in your life and be vigilant about that. You also said being amazed by yourself. And that is such a shift for, I think, for us as Black women to think, because we've been brought up to be so humble and don't be big headed and don't do all these things. But you need to have that sense of knowing your worth and be happy with yourself so you can see that in other people, right? I appreciate you brought that up. The other thing you talked about and made reference to is taking the time to pause, right? So, as Black women, we are often so busy juggling so many things, being so many people, so, doing everything for everybody else, right? And we lose sight of ourselves. And that just reminds me so much. If we're thinking about Juneteenth, it reminds me of what Stephanie Perry talks about, that so much of our behavior is fruit of the slavery tree. And a lot of the toxic jobs that we work at parallel experiences in a plantation, right? So what I'm thinking about is it is so ironic that all these years later, even though we've been emancipated, all that other kind of stuff, that we are seen by other people and we even self-define ourselves in terms of our labor. So what I find disturbing is when you meet people, and when the first thing they say is what their job is, right? So define themselves in terms of labor. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Angela. What about the rest of you? How have you found ways to connect to your joy, even though it's a whole bunch going on in your life? How have you managed to do that?
I would
Lola?
love to talk about that because there's so much going on in my life right now. I mean, when I think that the barrel is about to fall out, it's like boom, both of my parents are 84. They're going through serious health challenges. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer last year, and she's my dad's caretaker. And my dad has Parkinson's. And he is
Wow.
struggling right now with his Parkinson's. And then over the weekend, my daughter wrecked and totaled her car.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
Wow.
just like you, yesterday, I was probably a negative. I was below the line. Like it wasn't registering on the line. And I'm keeping it a completely transparent right now.
Exactly.
And and what I would say that helped me, my girlfriend came to my hotel room and she said, "You got to get out of the bed. Sometimes you just need a good girlfriend that will literally snap you out of it."
Yep.
Because you need a lifeline sometimes when things
Yep.
are just overwhelming. And I think with Black women, we don't know how, or we haven't been in the practice of saying, "Hey, I need help."
Yeah.
Whether it's
That part.
pride, whether
Yes.
it's ego, whether it's just something that we just don't, it doesn't resonate with us because it's not a normal practice. Um,
Mhm.
and I can be honest about that. That is not a normal practice. I'm always the strong friend. I'm always the
Mm.
friend that lends the ear. I'm always the friend that gives advice and kind of helps people navigate out of their situation.
Mhm.
But I can say that I've failed at being completely transparent when I need help.
Yes.
And my
Yes.
good girlfriend saw it on me. And she was like, "Get up. You got to get out. I was in my bed clothes, you guys. And she was like, nope, we're going out. We're getting in this lift and we're going to go down to Ocean Prime and we're going to have a couple cocktails and we're going to talk this through. And you got to get out in the sun. You need some
Yeah.
vitamin D. You have got to get out of this room."
She
And
nailed it.
and I'm telling you, Dr. Kamani, I didn't say I was kicking and screaming going, but on the inside, I was like, you know what? I really don't feel like going. I just don't. But when I got there and just sitting with someone who could hold space for me
Mhm.
was the gift that keeps on giving. I
Oh.
believe a part of it is not just scanning ourselves like Angela says, but having that good girlfriend in the moment that you can't scan yourself, that you have a trusted friend, a trusted ally that can scan you and
Yeah.
say, no, girlfriend, we got to pick this up.
Yeah. 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 Lola, first I want to ask you, is your daughter okay?
She is. Thank
Okay.
God. She is. Her
Yeah.
airbag deployed. The
Okay.
potholes in Atlanta, you guys. She hit a pothole and I was trying to swerve to get back in the lane, and a guy came in and just sideswiped her, and her airbag deployed. And my daughter is very tiny, so it just
Wow.
hit her in the face. So she's got like some bruising and some inner cuts in her lip, but thank God she is perfectly fine.
Yeah. Well,
Outside
I
of
just,
the soreness and just a
yeah.
little bit of puffiness in her face.
Yeah. I just want to just say words of support to you because I can imagine how terrifying that was to get that call, right? As a mother.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
And I'm thousands of miles away.
Mm. Oh my God. Like that
You
depletes
know,
all your energy, right? So you go into it's like almost a terror mode, a crisis mode.
she's my
And it may have
only
been,
child too.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 So I can imagine that just wiped you out, right? And so you were
Yeah.
just like you said, negative. You were negative numbers. And then you had a good friend. And I'm so glad you talked about that. So we've talked about self-assessment, and we're also talking about the importance of having close people around us who are allies who can maybe assess for us and say, girl, no, you need to get out, right? So your friend was on it. So number one, she reached out to you because we know that we heal in community. The other thing was she
Yes.
got you out, right? She got you in, with some sun. So vitamin D is a natural mood elevator. And that she was around you to be able to talk about and process what happened to you. Very
Yeah.
therapeutic. Very
Yeah.
therapeutic.
It
Yes.
was. It was a
Thank
good
you,
evening.
Lola. Yeah, good, good, good. What about you, Shauna and April?
I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One more time the question. I'm just sitting here holding space for my sis here, so I done forgot the
Yes.
question. I'm so
Woo,
sorry
yes.
about you,
It's like
Lola.
when we hear about stuff like that, like we can
Yeah.
feel that, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, right? Thank God she's well, but yeah, very scary. So the question is, given that there's so much stress going on in all of our lives, right? How have you managed to still prioritize joy? How do you do that? Because some people might think, well, I don't have time for joy. Well, their lives must be different than mine because I got too much going on. We all got things going on. So, how have you been able to center joy in your life?
You know, for me, the older I get, the sillier I become. Like, I don't even like at this point. I'm gonna have to just put together a solid 15 and just like get up on somebody's comedy stage because I just got a lot of thoughts that I need to get out of my head. And because like I mean I there's nothing in this world like being a Black woman,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time I don't know of anything more stressful than being a Black woman also.
That duality.
And
Yeah.
that duality, we live in that duality. And so for
Mhm.
me, I can turn my head and access joy within my life because I set up
Mhm.
my life that way.
Mhm.
But I have been intentional about setting my life up that way
Mhm.
because I know what depression is. I
Mm.
know what anxiety is.
Mm.
I know what homelessness is. I
Mm.
know what starvation is.
Mm.
I know what happens when it gets real dark
Yeah.
as a Black woman. And so to kind of balance that out, it for me, it became a radical act of change for me to like really look at myself, number one, look
Mhm.
at all the all the privileges that I have in this life, in this lifetime of
Mhm.
being who I am, and then moving my life in the direction towards those privileges so that I'm able to balance things out for me when things go dark. So, for example, April and I, we had a conversation last week. Hey, girl. Hey. We were just chit chatting. We didn't even get a chance to really talk about what we were supposed to talk about because we were just talking so much. But I was sharing with her about my accident here. So 2 months ago, for anyone who is joining us for the first time or may have joined us before, during the pandemic, I became a cyclist. And I went from not caring at all about bikes to like having strong opinions around cycling, around wellness, about and using the bike as a tool for liberation, for joy, for flirting, for all those fun things. So anyway, and I bring all three of those points up because, like I said, 2 months ago I was in a bike accident, and it was a hit and run. I was hit by a car on my left-hand side as I was commuting to my office.
Oh my God.
And it was, thankfully, you know, I know how to stop, drop, and roll. So like when I went down, I knew exactly what to do, but I had a brand new bike and my bike is fine. I was fine, except I dislocated my thumb.
Wow.
And it's been, it could not have happened at a better time because just a few days prior, I moved into my own place. And there's a story that goes into that about how I ended up with the place that I have, but you could not have written it better. It's just I'm just so thankful to the universe and for me to just take a chance on myself. Anyway, I've had such a wonderful time healing. I have enjoyed being in my new apartment and realizing like, no, I don't have to go out. I got food at home, or like the couch look real good tonight, or Netflix is this and that. I am so excited to just not feel compelled to always have to be on and out anymore, but really soak up like what it feels like to be at home and nesting and just being comforted and also feeling safe, having safety around me. This weekend, I've been slowly getting back on my bike. I don't ride nearly as much as I used to, mainly because of the accident. But this weekend, I kind of had a back-to-back situation. So I did, on Wednesday for Juneteenth, I did a ride with my community of Black cyclists here in in Los Angeles. It was a wonderful, wonderful ride. Lots of laughs, lots of fun. And then I didn't ride on Friday. On Saturday, I did my favorite ride, which is in the foothills, in the foothills of Los Angeles County in South Pasadena. Did my favorite ride. And while I was there, I saw my favorite cycle bay. I saw my favorite, and he looked so good, y'all. He looked so good. I didn't know what to do with myself. So when we talk about access and joy, I'm like, that's the main one for me. Just enjoying him. But I bring him up because he has been such a beautiful support for me as well. Every other day calling, how you doing, Shauna? What's going on? How's your thumb? I know you really want to get out there like you used to, but torn ligaments, that's going to heal. That's going to take longer to heal, and yada, yada, yada. And just like having, we live far apart from each other. So I was able to like have some one-on-one time with him instead of over the phone and through text messages. And he's had accidents before. So he's speaking from a perspective of knowing what I'm going through. And he was just able to like hold space for me in my healing process and actually make me aware. Every time I talk about the accident, I'm like, yeah, I was in an accident. And he was like, nah, girl, you got hit. And I had to pause and be like, damn.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I didn't know that it was a hit and run. I just knew you had an accident.
It was a hit and run. And again, and see what just happened there. I see you pretty often, and yet I'm saying to you, oh, I was in a bike accident.
Right.
I was in a hit and run. I was hit by a car.
Wow.
And they did not stop.
Oh,
and luckily, it was like 1 block away from the hospital. I went in. I was cracking up laughing, y'all, because I couldn't even like get to the point of like realizing like, oh my God, I just got hit.
Wow.
But to your point that to answer your question,
Mhm.
accessing joy this weekend for me was I got back on my bike and I did 2 rides that I really enjoyed.
Mhm.
One, like I said, with my cycle day, that was cool. I had a really good pastry. I was really excited at the end of it to have this really, really good croissant pastry. The next day on Sunday, I went out for another ride, and this was one of my bike clubs that I'm a member of. And the last time I rode with them, I had another accident on the PCH. I am not a magnet for accidents, y'all. I'm not. I just want to put that out there. But in the same weekend, I was reliving this, and my body shut down. My
Mm.
body was like, nah, girl, you can't do this. Like, as
Mm.
much as you want to chase them, as much as you want this workout, remember this pothole right here. Remember this. Remember that.
Mhm.
I don't know about anywhere else, but potholes in LA will make your uterus fall out. So, like, I've hit so many of them. This one, I ended up falling on my shoulder and like really damaging my shoulder. This was the first ride that I did with the group again, and I just relived that moment as soon as we came
Mhm.
up to that spot, and
Yeah.
I broke down crying. Now here I am, crying on the PCH as I'm riding my bike, and eventually I fell behind a lot, so I felt like a failure. I felt like I wasn't
Mm.
like contributing to the group dynamics for our workout. And y'all, 6 cyclists pulled off to the side and was like, "It's okay, let it."
Oh,
And
yeah. And allowing yourself to feel that.
you listen. You ain't got to tell. There used to be a time when I'd be like, "No, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay." Now, don't give me. If you give me 5 minutes to cry, I'm gonna take 7 because
Oh,
I have no problems letting it out because it's got to come out. It
yeah.
has to come out.
Yeah.
I'm a conduit. I'm not a container. And so I have learned that with having joy in my life and with prioritizing joy and with making plans to be joyful and have joyful experiences and positioning myself with people that acknowledge my joy, that I support their joy and all the
Mhm.
I'm not a container. I'm not. I am absolutely not a container. I used to think of myself as a container, but now I'm a conduit. It's got to come. If it comes in, it's got to go out. So
Shauna, that has to be your tagline. You are the joy ambassador who's not a container of joy. You are the conduit of joy. Okay,
absolutely. We're gonna get this joy electricity
girl.
in and out. Yep,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Well, let me say this, Shauna. First, I'm so sorry that you had a hit and run. Like I said, I had no idea that happened. And I just want to recap what you talked about, right? So you talked about the duality of being a Black woman. It is amazing being a Black woman. I wouldn't want to be anything else. Okay.
Mhm.
Amazing, yet very challenging also. No other experience like a Black woman. The other thing is you talked about how you are able to connect to joy, remind yourself of connecting to joy because you know what it's like to be rock bottom. You're like, I don't want to be there again. So I am fiercely, like you said, I'm fiercely protecting my joy because I'm not going back there. Right.
Mhm.
Then you also talked about um finding spaces where you can connect to your joy in whatever ways that might look like, right? And the joy of being alone. So well, I don't know if this means I'm an only child. I love being alone. Okay. I love it. Okay. I live in a house right now with other people. So I'm not alone that often. I love being alone. But some people do not like being alone. Like they feel like they're lonely and all that other kind of stuff. There is such a beauty in being okay with being with yourself. And I hope that people are able to get to that point, but I think it takes a while, right? Okay. So thank you, Shauna. What about for you, April?
Okay, well, as I mentioned last week in part 1, I came in at a joy deficit. So let's split this up. So initially, as I mentioned on my list of priorities, joy did not exist. And when you speak about all of the different things, I was the the local president of team too much, because again, there's that, not only the conditioning, but I took pride, when people would say like, oh, I don't know how you do it. And, like my calendar at work, all these different colors, it would be like, oh, I have no room, or, just things like that. It was me, once I worked through it, it was me wanting to feel needed and me getting validation from feeling needed. But at the time, as I began to get things off of my list, it made more room. And then it bumped up, what are the things that, even bring me happiness? Because happiness to me comes before joy. Happiness is that outward, it's the belly laugh, it's the Kool-Aid smile. It is, how your body responds. Joy, as Angela mentioned, is fulfillment. It's what makes your heart soar. It's what makes your spirit sing. You see how I close my eyes? Because I just,
you're feeling it.
Yeah, like that is a place where I like to stay. The same thing as with Shauna, and I'm sure all of us up here, we have had very low points in our life that, to me, there's no like gold prize for like suffrage or like like rock bottom Olympics, but we have all had that point where we know that we do not want to be anywhere near there again. So once I stopped doing so much, once I steadily became okay with not just moving and feeling like I have to move, and I sat with myself. I could not outrun myself. When you remove all of those things, you're just left it was me, myself, and I. So I had to sit with myself, have some conversations. Now, the next part of that is, if you ask me like about joy now, so hold on. The middle part of that is when you find you remember the things, and you may have to go back to the last time you were happy. Like, ask yourself, when was the last time that I laughed? When was the last time music played in my house? When was the last time that I actually left the house? So I notice more of what I'm not doing versus the things that I am doing. Those are, as we say in my industry, key risk indicators that I'm trending in the wrong direction. And what do I do? Like that brings me joy, that brings me happiness and joy. Whatever I want. When I ask myself, when was the last time that I was like happy, it's when I would be out dancing. It was when I lived in Illinois and I would be going into the city, into Chicago, listening to the house music, listening to the New Jersey house and trance, and, the percolator and all just the ratchet songs. Okay, look, these knees still work. Okay. Cause I was jamming this morning. All right. But okay, please.
These it's time for the percolator.
Okay.
It's time for the percolator.
These little girls can never. Okay. Anyway, but just as Shauna mentioned, and I'm sure as all of us as we get older, there comes that I think we get tired of certain things, and we have that wisdom that says like, why did I spend all of this time? Kind of like how I was sitting on my OG couch and I'm like, why is my hair pulled back in this tight chignon? Like I got my work hair when I haven't been at work. I've been at home now on my own for several months. When we realize that it's like, this is not only not serving us, but because I don't know that everyone has that language, but it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right. So with age comes that wisdom, and like my tolerance just got low. And frankly, I do what I want. If I feel like, like I said, this morning I was dancing to extra ratchet music, and I didn't care, like, because I don't know what they be doing now. But like things in my 20s and my 30s that just, I laugh a lot. I crack myself up. I love to hear things that make me laugh, and I'm liberated. There's some areas that I'm free. Okay. And I explained that difference last week. Free is like a construct. Okay. You're free. But if you're liberated, to me, that is when you truly have that mindset shift, when you are unshackling yourself from, a whole bunch of things. So for me, how I connect to joy is when I'm having some of those, like 2 days or things like that, is you all have mentioned, where it's just low points and I'm not feeling extra hype. I remind myself of all the things that I do have, even if it's just the ability to put on some music. I may not feel like dancing, but I have commitments to myself that, you know, we're not about to stay in this place for very long. So yeah, but I love, like I said, I love dancing, ratchet music. I love singing, making up my songs, you know, just feeling that freedom and feeling liberation.
Yeah. So I want to recap what you said. You talked about you had a joy deficit, right? Because I think you said in the previous one, a therapist asked you to describe yourself, but don't talk about your job, don't talk about your education, don't talk about your
Right.
family.
Right.
And you were stumped. And
Yeah.
you didn't even know what gave you joy, right? So you have
No.
been on this journey of
Yeah.
reconnecting to what even brings you joy.
Yeah.
And you are connected to it. You said a self-commitment to your
Yeah.
joy. So you find different ways to connect to your joy. And I love what you said, because I think I was this too. Team do too much,
Oh my
right?
God.
So you always
Yes.
doing the most, right? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
girl, I have to tell myself, slow your roll, stop, okay,
Mm-hmm.
stop. But I also want to say to Black women who are watching this, if you are engaging in this behavior, that might be a trauma response for you. So be aware of that. And then you talked about, really validating that you have a right to joy, and that now you are in a phase of your life where you're like, what do I want to do to make me happy? Right? Like, what is it that I want to do? I don't have to think about other people. I don't have to think about a job. I don't have to think about these things. What will bring me joy? Okay. So we're going to shift to the next question, but I have to say something to Shauna. Shauna, okay, in addition to your joy ambassadorship, you need to get that stand-up comedy together. I never heard of somebody talk about you bump over a pothole and your uterus is about to fall out.
Listen, listen. On there is. I'm still searching for pieces of it on Venice Boulevard between Crenshaw and Arlington. I'm telling you. So yeah.
Are we
That's
going
the
to
only city
listen?
job I'll ever take. If they ever got a position in Los Angeles to like clean up these potholes and clean up these, I'd be like, listen, I can tell you every single time I almost thought I lost my uterus. Here,
Okay,
here,
listen,
here, here.
listen.
So
We're
yeah.
gonna all support you when you have your first stand-up comedy. We're gonna all support you, okay? Because you need to do that. Okay. So next question. So if there's a Black woman watching right now and she is struggling, she's on that end where we've talked about. She's struggling with depression, anxiety. She's beat down by a toxic job. She sees no light in her life because the job is all consuming. She's the Black woman who's crying on her way to work. She's the Black woman crying in the parking lot, in the bathroom. The job is all consuming. We know this woman. This woman might have been us, okay? So let's talk to that woman. What tips can you offer to her? What tips or strategies can you offer to her to help her connect to their joy when she's feeling just so down? Shauna, I saw your hand.
This was one of my favorite questions that you sent in. So I did my homework. And there's two things that I know that have helped me in moments like this. As I mentioned earlier, I have certification in applied positive psychology. So I understand the science of thriving, the science of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I know in those moments when I felt like that, I felt disconnected from, I don't know how to explain this, but I know that I'm a human being. I know that I am, but sometimes the stress of being a Black woman makes you not feel human, or made me not feel human.
Because they the way we get treated, right? We are dehumanized.
And
Yeah.
not only how we get treated, we then treat ourselves that way.
True.
Right?
True.
And so what I needed to do was do the opposite of that, was start to treat myself like a human being. Instead of looking at myself as the Black woman, I had to just like take away, like we said earlier, take away those labels, take away those titles. And I had to start identifying with just who I am as a human being. One of the things that I realized that I wasn't doing was breathing. I wasn't giving time to just slow down and take deep breaths
Mm-hmm.
and center myself, whether it was 5 minutes in the bathroom, whether it was just before I went to bed,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was while I was walking to work, school, job, play, bike ride, wherever. I just was not respecting the fact that I had been given breath. And
That's
that
important.
breath can always bring me back to center.
Yeah.
That's one. There's a gabillion apps that you can download to learn about breath work and to practice breathing. So there's that. One of the things that I remember really enjoying learning about as I was learning about the science of thriving, the science of happiness, is that every human being has serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
Every human being has dopamine. We have
Mm-hmm.
endorphins. We
Mm-hmm.
all have these happy, excuse me,
Hormones, they're ready.
happy
And we want
hormones.
us to be happy.
And so one of the practices that I actually am going to do for the summer for myself is make a list of what all those things are. What is serotonin, and what are some things that can bring about serotonin in my life? What is dopamine, and what brings about dopamine in my life, and so forth and so
Right.
on. And then again, I said this last week, create a calendar and just put things in the calendar that do these things and kind
Mm-hmm.
of check it off, right? So for me, again, I mentioned earlier, I love riding my bike. So going outside for a walk, going outside and exercising, that ain't never going to be a problem for me. But what is difficult for me is like slowing down and meditating. As I mentioned earlier, that was always a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
getting centered back into my breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga, as much as I love moving my body, slowing it down has always been a challenge for me. There's so many things that are on this list that I was like, oh, that does that. Oh, that does that. Okay, I got to start doing it. Not because I need to be doing it, but because there's a benefit to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that benefit is going to be healing. That benefit is going to be therapeutic. That benefit is actually going to raise me up out of this awareness that I feel about not feeling human, not feeling like a human being. So
Mm.
I hope that's clear for what
Oh,
I'm
yes,
going to
crystal
say.
clear.
Okay,
It's
so
crystal clear.
that
Yeah.
was super, super helpful for me, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that's helpful for any Black woman that's watching this.
Yes. So I'm going to recap what Shauna just shared. So deep breathing, important to reconnect and ground ourselves, and we can access that anytime, anywhere. That's the first thing. And I wanted to say something too, because I think, again, as Black women, part of what we say to ourselves, part of the lie that we say to ourselves is we're too busy to relax. We're too busy to breathe. We're too busy to do anything. Right now, we might be busy, but we're not too busy to breathe, right? We're not too busy for some things. And so I remember during the Exodus Summit, Octavia Rahim, everybody needs to get that book, listen to it. It's amazing. What's it? Pause, Rest, Be. I think that is, right? And she talked about, as Black women, we might say, I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. I don't have time to rest, right? And she said, pausing is the first step to rest. So if we just pause for a moment, deep breaths, right? You also talked about a joy calendar. So calendaring it in, like this is a priority for me. And you talked about engaging or recognizing what are the natural mood elevators. You talked about dopamine, serotonin, right? But what are the natural mood elevators? Lola talked about this too with her friend. You need to go outside, vitamin D, natural mood elevator. You work out, cycling, that's endorphins, natural mood elevator. So how do we engage in activities that automatically, even eating turkey is a mood elevator, right? So what are the things that we can do to help ourselves? Okay. So what about the rest of you? What tips can you give to Black women watching right now, particularly Black women who are struggling right now? What tips can you offer in terms of how to connect to her joy?
I would love to chime in on this. I think when Black women get to the point where they're at what we call the point of no return,
Mm.
there's an imbalance.
Mm.
it's like you void yourself out and you do everything for everybody else, and you have lost yourself. You haven't thought about yourself. And I think one part of it is connecting yourself back to yourself. Like Shauna was saying, that finding that human side again, like seeing yourself as a real human being, not as a superwoman with a cape on.
Let's burn a
But a
cape.
human with as a human being that, you know, lives and breathes and moves and has feelings and probably doesn't have boundaries, right? And so the imbalance is not having boundaries. That's what it was for me. It was like exhausting myself for everybody else, but not choosing myself. Going back to what I said last week, that Ian Van Zant talks about becoming self-full. We've been taught that, you know, putting ourselves first is being selfish, and it's really not. We learn something backwards. It's really not. It's almost like you gotta break down the programming of what we were taught from our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunties, because we saw them break their backs to put food on the table. We saw them break their backs to make sure the family is good and keep the family together. But if you went back and interviewed those women, if they were still living, I'm sure a majority of them would say, I needed to rest, and I never took it.
Yeah.
Because nobody told them that it was okay to rest.
Yeah.
Nobody told them that it was their birthright to rest. Right? We always had to stay busy. There's belief systems that are embedded in us. There are programs that are embedded in us from DNA that tell us that we got to keep going, that we got to be busy, that we got to be doing something all the time. And a lot of Black women, specifically Black women, we don't know that it is our birthright to rest. We martyr ourselves in doing everything for everybody and putting ourselves last when it comes to our care and how we think about our mind and our bodies and our spirit. We put ourselves last. And I think, like Shauna said, when you can see yourself as a human being first and understand you're not Superwoman.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like who was it that wrote that song? I am your super.
Oh,
I'm
Karen
not trying
White.
to be Superwoman.
Yes. Karen White.
Yes.
Karen White.
But
That's who it was. Karen White.
Babyface.
Karen
the
White.
Song was written by Babyface. The song was written by a man. The song was written by a man who Karen White was just a vessel that it came through. But that's that belief system that we're supposed to martyr ourselves. We're just supposed to ride and die and do everything for everybody else, not saving a little morsel for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's an imbalance. It's an imbalance. It's something that we have to unlearn. And I think that when we unlearn that and then put into practice having boundaries, setting boundaries for others, as well as setting boundaries for ourselves, like, no, I'm leaving at 5 o'clock from work. No, I'm not. No, you cannot call me at 9 o'clock at night to ask me a question. I'm with my family.
Boundaries. Yes.
We don't even know how to say no. We feel guilty about saying no.
Yeah. 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 And Lola, I completely agree about the social programming, right? And part of it is unlearning, like you just talked about, unlearning the social programming. And we have to give ourselves permission. But you said something that I was really like, oh my God. When you were talking, I wrote this down. Many times as Black women, our worth is equated to our work personally, so in our personal lives and professionally. So we've been brought up this way. So now I can understand better why so many of us overproduce at our jobs. We over identify with our job titles because that's how we were brought up to be, which again, as Stephanie Perry says, fruit of the slavery tree. And so we have to recognize that and say, no, that is not my worth. My worth is not my work. My worth is who I am, right? Okay. The other things, I want to recap what you said, Lola. Okay. You talked about the point of no return, that point where you are just burnt out, like you're crispy, like you in the fire and you crispy, right? The other part you talked about was really connecting back to ourselves. And again, that goes back to the pause. Connect to yourself, connect to who you really are. What do you value? Your humanity. Even if other people don't value it, we need to value our own humanity. And part of that is establishing and maintaining boundaries, even though it's not easy. And guess what? People are going to push back against you setting boundaries too. But even if they do, we still have to be consistent with that, because if we give in, then we are reinforcing to them. If you just push a little bit, she'll do it, right? So we have to be clear about that. And this part, girl, I love this. I'm sorry using this. You said self-full. You said Iyanla Vanzant talked about being self-full. We are not selfish. We are self-full. It is nothing wrong with prioritizing ourselves, right? And then giving ourselves permission to rest. Excellent. Thank you, Lola. What about you, Angela and April?
Here, let me go because I want to hear. Okay, back it up. I came in hot. Angela, do you mind if I go really quick? Because I want to hear, I think that would be a perfect way to end it. How you went from a 2 to, okay, so 2 to a 10. Okay. Because I came in real hot, didn't I? Okay.
Yeah. Let's just say you came in very passionate.
Yes, I have passion, fervor. Okay. All right. So couple of things. The first thing is, I have to represent for the people who are burnt up, as I've said before. Like, I was not burnt out, I was burnt up. So there's the point of no return, and then there's like the end of the point of no return. And I was really there. So I have to represent for the people who were like, boundaries, what? Huh? Like, for me, it used to just, like, when my therapist would tell me things, it would make my heart beat fast. It would make me break out into a sweat because my brain could not, it was like, like I could not even begin to think about how to answer some of her questions, to do any other role play if I say no, because my brain would not even allow me to consider that. It was almost as if I was a robot, which is what I was, thinking of when Shauna said that we don't feel human. I know for me, again, as Lola said, because as I mentioned before, I'm the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the nurse, the psychiatrist, the cook, the number one volunteer, the board member. I could go on and on and on. That there were, so those are different masks that I had to wear. So if I just continue to wear masks, eventually I'm going to say, well, I just need to keep this one on. And this one mask that I was wearing was, like an amalgamation of all, like, just constantly being on, as we've all mentioned in some regard. And that was, it's not sustainable. And that is why we start feeling the anxiety. Like I've mentioned before, that not here, well, on your channel, but not in the previous part 1. But I mentioned that when I left corporate, I developed agoraphobia. Now, I love being by myself. I am a true introvert. My battery is recharged. I have my best thoughts when I'm alone. I don't even mind being in public and being alone. But it started with, I couldn't go here in my house. And let me preface it. There's different levels to the spectrum of agoraphobia. Mine was the feeling that I got. And I call it the whooping feeling. And that is anxiety. So those of you who got whoopings, it's that fit when you hear, I'm going to whoop you, or wait till your father gets home, he's going to whoop you, or I'm going to whoop you when I get home, or you hear certain things, you hear the belts jingling and that. So for those of you who feel that, remember that feeling, because that is, at least for me, how anxiety shows up. It is the whooping feeling. And that is anxiety and panic. And so I have on the side of my house a 13 by 25 foot garden. Like, and I've already mentioned about my roses and all my fruit. Like, I have a true oasis that I love my house and I love being home. But it began like, you can't go in this bedroom. Okay, you can't use this bathroom. Okay, well, now you can't go outside to do the garden. It was almost like vampire movies if you watch them and they like put some garlic or they do whatever. Or for those saints, because some of y'all done ready to start praying for me under your breath. Okay, when the Holy Spirit came through, okay, and you got to anoint the doors. All right. Either way, I could not cross the threshold. And I would look out the window, boo-hooing at my prized garden, just literally withering on the vine. But my body panicked and told me, if I go outside, if I use that bathroom, and then I just began to avoid. Now, again, I know that I didn't feel like I was in danger at all, like logically, but my body was saying like, girl, no, like I can't take much more of this. Also, my therapist told me that the way that my brain works is almost like a circuit breaker. When stuff starts getting too much, flip off one, flip off another, so that the energy that I had, and I would sit sometimes and it would be light outside when I last remember, and I snap out of it and I'm sitting in the dark. I've had whole conversations with people. Like, my body was to the point that my brain was trying to save me. My body screaming for years, the high blood pressure, the horrible cystic acne, the premature, like my stress put me into menopause.
Woo!
Yes, like that is,
wow.
My body has been telling me these things for years, but my brain was like, we have to protect her at all costs. So when we talk about like, what can you do? That'll let you know the mindset that I was in. It was not simply like, this job has sucked out it's messed up my social life or anything like that. And I'm not trying to, mock anyone who might feel that way. I'm just putting context around like
extreme.
Yes, extreme.
Wow.
How real things were in my life. And so boundaries, my formula is balance plus boundaries equals joy. You can't get to that balance. You can't get to those boundaries because you can't even see them. They're so high up. Like, your eyes can't even go that high. What you can do before you say no, before you even think about anything else, just take 5 minutes, if that's where it starts, away from your desk or away from the computer. Depending on where you live, you may not be able to go outside sometimes a year. So just step away, go stand in front of the window, get you one of those lights. If you're working from home, close the door, step away, commit to yourself for 5 minutes. And here's the great part about it. You may not make it 5 minutes and that's okay, but do it again. If you have that work phone, leave the work phone in the room, walk away and, whatever you have to do, start with 5 minutes, work up to 10 minutes, work up to 15 minutes, then work up to putting it on your calendar, like blocking out that time. All right, now here comes the part that's going to make a lot of people sweat. If somebody puts a meeting on there, okay, now this is next level, all right? Just want you graduated, okay? So let's not, I don't want y'all going out there talking about, Priel said, okay, no. When you are maybe just a little nervous versus it freaks you out, okay? Then when people start putting those things during that time that you have blocked off, and again, this is about committing to yourself, because these balance, boundaries, none of the joy comes up until, as we mentioned, last week, as we mentioned plenty of times before we do that self-work. But when you have continued to commit to yourself, it's going to be abrasive when other people come through. Because we can all see, if you go to the little schedule manager, it'll tell schedule assistant, it'll tell you who's available, it blocks it out. So now they've been inconsiderate and they don't respect your time. Now you can say, I have a conflict, or you can send back that propose a new time. And trust me when I say that first time is going to be the hardest. And then you would get, I like this. And then it's going to spread out in other parts of your life. But for those of you who are like me, just like way over there at the very end of the spectrum, just give yourself 5 minutes a day. Just start with that 5 minutes. And once you've done 5 minutes, just continue to, even if you can't do 10, okay? Because that might be, and I'm not being funny. that may be too big of a jump for some people, but you have to start that commitment to yourself, because once you get through all of this stuff, at the end of the day, it's us. We started with us. We started with us being in control of getting us out of that dark place again. There are clinicians, there's medications if that's your jam. Of course, there's exercise, there's a whole bunch of homeopathic and natural ways. But if we are hanging on to that old version of our life or ourselves with the Kung Fu grip, then no amount of anything is going to help us. We have to release many things. And that starts with building those habits and first committing to yourself, because you are going to ride that commitment to yourself wave time and time and time again. So, okay.
Yeah. You motivated me to say something, right? So, you know, we often heard the term ride or die, right? You're a ride or die for this person. Right? Can we be a ride or die for ourselves? That's the first thing. The other thing is, April, you talked about being constantly on. I think so many of us feel that. And then you gave a secret formula for all of us to remember. Balance plus boundaries equals joy. You talk about also taking increments of time away from your work duties. So you may not be able to take a full hour, but just like those small increments, and then build up that time, but make sure that you are consistent with that. And then you get to a point where if people start trying to infringe on your time when you have that blocked off, being vocal about that and ask about how can we reschedule for a different time, right? So being very, be an advocate of our time, right? Okay, thank you, April. Okay, Angela, so you see April was on fire. She couldn't wait to hear what you're gonna say, right?
I'm so glad she stopped me. And let me tell you, I've you come to these forums with experience and knowledge and so on, and I'm always just excited about how much you learn. Right? We're here to share to your audience, to help other Black women, and we're also helping each other. So I just wanted to acknowledge each and every one of you for just being so vulnerable about your experiences and how you came to be here. That's the only way that people are going to understand that they can do it too. Yes. Is they see us showing up this way, and not there's no code switching, there's no theoretical stuff. It's applied theory, if anything. Do you know what I mean? It's stuff that we have actually experienced and reached points in our lives where and this is where I'm going to kind of go into my thing. And I think April kind of was the first one I heard say it in this way. I always talk about you have to desire joy. It has to be something that you desire. That is the liberation piece for me, right? Where you desire this thing, and so you are going to take action to get it. Right. Also talked about accessing. Well, that access comes from, you almost creating an account for joy, right? And so that way, when things happen, whether it's a high of life or a low of life, you can access that thing, right? It's a big work. We've all arrived at this point through a body of work. April described her an immense body of work to move from being crispy to this place now where she can share from experience, right? It's this body, it's not a once and, like a one-time thing, or it's not a, it's not a,
it's a process.
It's such a process. I like to say that it's a body of work because of this. It is a process, absolutely. Because I want people to understand that it becomes something that you can draw from. Right? It's not just these spikes in these dopamine hits, right? But it's so much more than that. It's this thing, this journey that you desire to be on, and then you do it, whether it's a 5-minute thing, you do. That's how I learned to run. Actually, I was seeing someone who was a runner, and he was like, just 5 minutes, let's just run around the block. And then it became 15, and then we were running miles. But it's
Wow.
that desire for this thing called joy,
Mm-hmm.
and that it is worth your effort. It is worth your effort. So I'm gonna, since Pearl asked me to do this now, I'm gonna share with you what got me from the 2 to the 10 that I feel right now. I'm beyond 10, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Thanks to you all. The first thing I did, and you're going to hear the same themes repeated from all of us. The first thing I did is when my best friend called, because I checked in on myself, and she said, "Oh, how you doing?" I stopped myself from saying, "Oh, I'm doing great." I stopped myself and I said, "Actually, I'm struggling right now."
Mm-hmm.
So I also told her that I wasn't kind of looking for her to solve this for me. I just share with you where I am right now. Sometimes when you share that with people, you give them permission to be, for you to be that for them.
Mm.
Right? When you can be that vulnerable with someone, you're actually saying that you can be vulnerable with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And also, I love what you said. I'm not expecting you to fix it. I just want you to hear.
right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she did. And the next thing that I did, and I shared this with her, I have a practice of writing most mornings. I call it just morning writing. It's just stream of consciousness writing, right? It's not journaling. I'm not trying to necessarily finish a thought or come up with a particular answer. Sometimes I ask questions in my morning writing, but it's my time to check in on that internal stuff that I talk about. It is that 5 minutes, if you will. I do it for 30 minutes, or I do it until 3 pages are finished. It's the time to check in on to just be in tune with this. With this, it's there all the time. It's like God, the universe creator, shows up, right? He's there all the time. It's there all the time. It's your time to tap into that. What is the conversation that's going on? Get it out. Like, get it out of just going around, bouncing around, not really having usefulness when it's just bouncing around in your brain. Once you start writing it, it just, oh, so why are you thinking? This is what my writing might look like. Oh, so why are you thinking about that? I don't know. And then I'll go off to something else, and I may come back to it. It's just whatever comes to mind, you put on paper. That's what it is. That is the goal of it is to do the thing. That the goal of it is to access what is in your head. It's not to reread it. It's not. I throw away my writing because I don't want the pressure of, oh, someone may read this, or it's almost me saying your work is done because you've written it out. That is the work. That is the work.
The work is connecting to yourself.
Exactly. And so my act of throwing it away reinforces that idea that I've done it already. The usefulness of it has happened. I'm not trying to suck any more out of it than what it has already done. Other types of writing for the other stuff, but this is what I did today to get me to 9 before I came, and 10, 11, 12 in this moment. One other thing that I wrote down here, I know that my particular natural ways of doing things, something that I need to finish things. I need to finish projects. I need to kind of break up big things into smaller pieces. This is something that I know about myself, in my self-awareness and in my being amazed at myself. I'm a finisher, right? My braids weren't done. I went to bed last night. I don't even know how late I went. And it was bothering me that I had something that was limiting me that I hadn't completed. And something I know about myself. And I could have put on a wig. I'm a wig person. I make wigs. I love wigs. I could have done that, but I knew that I needed to complete it. And so I completed my hair, or I almost completed it. There's a little
It
bit
looks
of,
gorgeous. It looks gorgeous.
thank you. But this was an important thing. This is self-awareness. I knew that I needed this. I knew that if I put on a baseball cap or if I put on a wig or something for this, I would not have been at 9 when I came here. And I wanted to show up for all of you listening as the best version of myself.
Ooh, I love that. Okay. So Angela, I'm going to recap what you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It was a lot. Okay. So desiring joy and taking action to get it, right? And you talked about creating a joy account. Beautiful. And you said also be honest with yourself, and not only be honest with yourself, be honest with those people who we know really care for us, right? Not people who are like, how you doing? Like, oh, I'm fine. Don't tell them all your business, right? If they don't really care about you. But we're talking about good friends, right? Who are checking in with you. Be honest and let them know, I don't need you to fix. I just need you to hear me. Okay. The other thing is you talked about the stream of consciousness writing, because it allows you to connect to your mind without filter. Just write it, write it, write it. And you talk about throwing it away. So then you don't have that pressure to go back and look at it. And then you also talked about the joy of being a community. So we are mirroring, I hope everybody can see how much we're pouring into each other on this panel, right? That we are just appreciative of being in each other's company, and just the power of Black women uplifting one another. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I have a shameless plug, shameless plug. So this Sunday, we're going to have an Exodus Summit LA meetup with Stephanie Perry and Rashida Dow. If you would like to come to the meetup, you need to email me. Now, we run out of slots, okay? So we initially ran out of the 25. We fill that up within a day, okay? So we've expanded it. We're going to have 50, okay? So there's a few more slots. I need to check emails because I know a whole bunch of people emailed me, okay? So if you want to come to the LA meetup and you're a Black woman and you want to come to the meetup, then email me. I will put my email information in the description section, okay? So ladies, as we are kind of winding down,
Dr. Kamani, can I add something really quickly?
Yes.
Because I want to be
yes.
sensitive. I want to be sensitive to women that are burned up, as Pearl said. I know I said something about boundaries, but when she was saying that she was burned up, it something just kind of sunk in me, because like she said, people don't even know how to get the boundaries when you've been burned up.
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
And I would offer this as an addition to everything that everybody else says. I would offer to find out about emotional dysregulation. Look up the word, look up the term emotional dysregulation, because I think a lot of Black women have experienced trauma, whether it's physical trauma, emotional trauma, work trauma, family trauma. What happens is our emotions get dysregulated, right? And it stops us there, it stunts us there. And a person that's burned up typically has been emotionally dysregulated.
True.
And even if they don't have money to go get an emotional regulation coach, there are books on it. You can look it up on YouTube. I mean, you can find people on Instagram that speak to that subject, and they can give you a lot of techniques about it. And I think that will help some of the people that, as Pearl says, burned up. Not burned out, but burned up. When you're at that end point, it's beyond just being burned out. You are burned up and you really don't know where to start. And having boundaries is not going to be a place that you start, because you don't even recognize it. So I want to be
True.
sensitive to those women that, like Prill said, are burnt up. Maybe start with just finding out or Googling emotional dysregulation. I
That's
think
a really good point.
that would be very helpful.
That's a really good point. And a therapist can really help you with that, right? So in terms of you recognize, oh, this is me, then therapy would be very powerful to work through that. So thank you, Lola, for elevating that. I appreciate that. So ladies, as we're kind of winding down a little bit, can you share, each of you, can you share about ways that you are helping Black women connect to joy? Lola, I'll start with you.
Well, one, I have my podcast, which is Heal Black Joy. Shauna, kind of this panel is kind of helping me get back. I'm putting my toe back in the water. I kind of stopped it because I was burned. I wasn't burned up, Prill. I was burned out. And I am a person that's about, I think we all are kindred in the sense that we want to see Black women find their joy and maintain it, right? And one way that I'm doing that is I have 3 seasons of Heal Black Joy where I speak to all Black faces, men and women alike, but specifically Black women. I was very adamant of finding people that I interviewed that were experts and had the experience that could speak to us, people that look like us, people that know our struggles and our stories and even our successes, and being able to speak to those people. I've got 3 seasons so far, and I'm getting ready to gear back up to do it again. I also going to start back on my group coaching. I had stopped that for a while because I was just burned out, honestly. I mean, we get to those spaces in our lives where, I don't know about you, Angela, but I'm in that perimenopausal, not menopausal phase, but perimenopausal. So I got elderly parents that are struggling in their health, and I've got a young adult that needs help navigating that young adult life. And I'm just in this weird space right now where I'm being pulled in all directions. And so I took a break for me. I had to become self-full again so that I could pour from a full cup and not pour from an empty cup. And I was very cognizant of that. I wanted to be very sensitive because Shauna knows I treat my Heal Black Joyers like my family. They're my family. They talk to me, they send me messages. And I wanted to be responsible and still being that vessel. But in being responsible, I had to take time for myself so that when I did come back, I came with a full cup. And then everybody gets the overflow and not me pouring from an empty cup.
Oh, I like that, Lola. The overflow. Yes, the overflow of joy.
Yeah. So my joy is back. My joy is back. I am full. I have my strategy of what I want to do going forward. I'm definitely going to start my podcast again, and I will be doing group coaching again pretty soon.
Awesome. Okay. So the name of your YouTube channel, is it Heal Black Joy?
It's Heal Black Joy on every platform.
Okay.
Heal Black Joy.
I'm going to put it up here so people can see it. Okay. Shauna.
You might see a familiar face on Heal Black Joy.
I saw Shauna on there.
I believe. Because I think we did 2 episodes together. I think it was
We did two. I had to bring her back because, as you know, Shauna is just a firecracker for joy, right? She's a joy conduit, like you said.
Exactly.
Y'all, I had so much fun on her. I had so much fun on her podcast. I was like, oh my gosh. And mind you, like, we talk to each other like this. We've never been in the same room with each other.
Wow.
We've never been in the same room. You can't tell me that ain't my sister, though.
Wow.
Right?
Amazing.
Right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't tell me. So yeah. I'm sorry, I had to like put that little shameless
No,
plug out there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And my hope is that one day you guys will have an opportunity to see each other in person. And just really briefly,
We'll probably sit down and just not say anything for 5 minutes.
Say what?
I said, she and I probably see each other for the first time and not say anything for about 5 minutes.
Just look at each other, just be like basking in the happiness, right? Yeah. So recently I had the chance, it was like a surprise encounter with a dear friend of mine, Colette Elizabeth, who I connect with on YouTube. Never met her in person, ever, ever, ever. She was coming to LA for some Juneteenth celebration. And I was like, oh, so we talked about we're going to meet up, right? I happened to go someplace that I normally don't go to, just went there on a whim. And I'm looking down and I hear a voice that I know. I look up, it's Colette. And she was like, I was just about to call you to see if we could meet up. This is my first time ever seeing her in person. And Colette is really like my sister. Like like when we talk, it's amazing. But it was just by chance. But being around her, being in her presence, took it to a whole nother level. So that's what I'm saying. I hope that you guys are able to see each other in person at some point soon. Okay. I just wanted to share that. So, Shauna, can you please share, Miss Joy Ambassador, how do you support joy for Black women?
My tools in this lifetime have been singing, dancing, creating. Creating for me is crocheting. And it's been cycling. So of course, riding my bike. And it's also being a person who can hold space to have positive conversations or honest conversations around anti-racism. And so any one of those five, I feel I have the skills, the aptitude, the knowledge, the expertise to talk about those things. At some point, the universe is going to allow me to bring it all together and provide an offering to Black women around those things, around those mediums, if you will. I fantasize about that often. I'm trying, as much as I love my calendar and like being organized, I feel disorganized because I can't see what that looks like for me. So I am super grateful. This is my third episode with you. I'm super grateful that you value my presence and my experience, that you've brought me, that you've invited me back. I'm going to always say yes, because this is good practice for me. Yeah. I absolutely had a wonderful time on Lola's podcast as well. So those are the things that I know that I'm comfortable talking about. I can give up, I can stand up and talk for 30 minutes about any one of those topics. I'm online everywhere at ShaunaLHoward.com. We'll figure it out together. Yeah. I just feel that it's really important for us as Black women specifically, just because of our historical trauma that we've had in this world. I feel that it's just so necessary for us to access ease, joy, luxury, and pleasure. Those four things have been what has kept me upright sometimes over these past 4 years. The pandemic was a lot for a lot of us. And I still feel the effects of it in a lot of aspects of my life. And so I root and ground myself in organizing my joy and organizing those opportunities to experience ease, flow, luxury, and pleasure. So if that is something that you're interested in, holler at me, try to find me. We'll talk about it.
Okay, so tell me your information again, Shauna. I'm gonna put it on the screen. Tell me again.
Sure. Just find me online everywhere at Shauna L. Howard.
Shauna L. Howard. Is it .com or at?
No, just like
yeah. Okay, got you. Okay, let me just put this right here.
Yeah.
At Shauna L. Howard.
So if it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, I was gonna say MapQuest, not MapQuest. What was that one that we had back in the day? MySpace. Oh,
I was gonna say Black Planet.
Way back. Okay.
Black Planet.
Okay.
And actually, I wanted to say this before we turn it over to the next person. I wanted to say that I probably could put my hands on my "I Am Not Your Superwoman" T-shirt that I had from when I was a little girl. So I as you were telling that story about about not being a superwoman, that is absolutely something that you just have to realize. Like, you're not a superwoman. You're not. You're a human being.
No. And you know what? The thing about it too is that they have lied to us and make us believe that it's a good thing to be a superwoman. It's a good thing to be this strong Black woman, right? So then we internalize it to our detriment. So that's when people think we don't have no boundaries, or people think we just are everything to everybody, right? So we have to be mindful that it might so-called be a compliment, but it's a way for people to manipulate us and get over on us, okay? Shauna, did I write this right? Shauna L. Howard? Okay, awesome. Okay. And I just want to say, Shauna, that, we're all rooting for you, not just me, the chat, every time you come on, right? There are people who really want to work with you, okay? So we are here to support you in that journey as you have more people access you, okay? So we just want to support you in that. Okay, April, what do you have to offer?
Okay, so Shauna says that she can't see it, but I saw it. And so, Shauna, I'm going to email you when we hop off here, because we were chopping it up on Thursday. So I'm going to email it to you, and we'll probably text me and we'll talk about when we can go over it. But yes,
I love that. Wait, can I say something? This is filling me with joy right now. This is filling me with joy. Not only this panel, but seeing how we each pour into one another. That fills me with so much joy. And I just think, like, April gave me a whole tutorial about Chat GPT, and I use it all the time now. I wouldn't be able to do it without April. So I'm just so thankful that when we have examples of us supporting one another, because I just really want us to counter the lie that so many Black women believe, that we can't trust one another, we can't rely. That is a lie. Now, there might be a small segment, right, that we got, but don't let that cloud over the power of sisterhood. And you are seeing sisterhood in action. So I just want to say that, April. Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure. It is collaboration over competition for me. I am not naturally a competitive person. I am not naturally a jealous person. And what is meant for me is mine. Yes. And it is earmarked, and it is waiting with Prill in a big old bow. Okay. And what's meant for other people is theirs. That's our problem. A lot of times we're trying to be in other people's lane. When you hear just stay in your own lane, don't be fearful that they're going to take it all or whatever. Okay. I can talk about that.
We all have gifts, right?
Right.
Because you shine, that doesn't make me shine any less.
Right. It doesn't dull. It's just extra bright up in this place. Okay. So, very similar to Lola, I was burned out, not burnt up, because I was already burnt up. So it started coming up to my beep, 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 like my car does when I pull into my driveway. But it was starting to butt up against that. And I was just tired of one-on-one coaching. And I felt like a failure by giving it up. And I'm like, well, because your brain said, well, it's successful, so why would you stop that? But yeah, I am going to soon this summer go back into group coaching. I have to get settled in my new, domain that I have.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait for you to share about what's going to happen. You guys get ready, okay? Get ready. Okay. That was just that's a movie trailer.
Yes. And then also, Shauna, you got yours. I just sent yours over before we hopped on here, Angela, and then I didn't have time. But Lola, I'm going to send you an invitation to share your story on my upcoming podcast. Well, it'll be a vodcast, but a podcast called Balance, Boundaries, and Joy. Ooh. And it is going to be, I just want to hear about everyone's origin stories of where they started, how were you raised, what was your, I guess, hero's journey to being in a place where you do feel joy. And joy is just, it changes, it grows, it evolves. So again, you know how I say, it's not like a one and done, hit it and quit it. Okay. Call you an Uber and I'm about to sneak out. Okay, hold on. I'm telling too much. Okay, I've been redeemed. All right. That's under the blood. Okay, anyway. but joy is not, it's not.
Look at
Shauna. Okay, sit up. All right.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway, yes. So that is my number one goal. And I've mentioned this before. I think we've all mentioned this in some regard. We felt very isolated and like we were going through things alone. Like there was no one to truly express to, whether because we didn't want to look weak, or we, like in my case, did not have anyone to share with, or also in my case, I don't want to burden anyone else with my problems. So I want Black women to see and hear themselves in the stories of other Black women, and just the variety, the cornucopia of joy. Okay, look, I know that's a whole word right there, but the
cornucopia of joy.
I know. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down.
Please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. But I really want that to be, yes, I am a living, breathing testimony, but I'm not everybody's jam. And some people, just as we've mentioned on here, being in each other's presence, hearing each other's perspectives, hearing each other's stories has gassed me up. It has, it's filled up my tank even more. Okay. I got two of the little red things to put in the trunk, so that is what I want other people to feel, other women, Black women, hold on, let me be specific, other Black women to feel and see and hear themselves. So yeah, you can check me out on my YouTube channel at Positively Prill. And yeah, stay tuned. I already started my vlog today, the 7-day countdown, Dr. Kamani. So I started.
Okay. Positively Prill. Okay. I'm putting yours up on the screen. Okay. Right. So I want to give you some more flowers, April. Okay. So not only did April help me with ChatGPT, which is a big thing, because I'm not into tech. Okay. That was like humongous. But when we were planning the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, I was talking to April and she was like, hey, do you guys have sponsors? I was like, what? Sponsors? I didn't even think about it, right? We had all Black women-owned business sponsors for the summit, okay? So thank you, April. Also, April was like, oh, do you guys have an MC? And I was like, MC? She's like, oh, yes, I could be your MC because I'm a voice actress.
She a whole production company by herself. I love it.
Like, what, April? And she nailed it. Okay. So I just want to again say thank you so much, April. You have helped me out immensely. So thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Angela because she is a joy strategist. So I would love to hear, what does a joy strategist do? Please share with us.
Sure. So that term came to me because I spent most of my career in tech. I left my corporate world in 2017. And so understanding strategy, the way that you set a vision and move towards it, I thought it was important to think about joy in that way, to be intentional about it in the same way that you strategize about every other aspect of your life. Mm-hmm. Children's lives, your career, and so on. You can strategize and be intentional about joy. The people that I speak to most specifically are, as I said before, Black women in their wisdom phase of life, right?
Phase of life, yeah.
I focus on them. I'm 61. I focus on them because I know that we come from a generation where sacrifice is our trophy,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
We do for others.
Mm.
We kind of deplete ourselves for our children, for our families. And so at this point in life, I create an urgency around joy. We don't have all the time in the world. No one has all the time in the world, but we specifically, we are now already thinking about, okay, this is another phase of our lives, right? And so that is where joy strategy comes from. And I started using the term, your joy is a terrible thing to waste. I don't know if you guys
Ooh.
remember back in the
Yes,
day,
United Negro College Fund. Yes.
sponge, your mind is a terrible thing. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. I say your joy is a terrible thing to waste, and you have access to it. It is available to you, right? And it looks very different for every individual. So I take my clients through a process. We do an intense assessment, which makes very clear. It doesn't tell them who they are. It doesn't tell them who they are. It shows them themselves. It's very clear about what each individual's needs are and what their gifts are. And my formula for joy, as Pearl has one, my formula for joy is using your gifts and getting your needs met. When you do that, right? When you do those two things, that is what fills you up. This joy bucket that I talk about, this deep,
Ooh.
is by doing that. And the idea that needs, when we talk about needs and people being needy and, oh, what is this needs thing? I'm talking about some very specific things. Some people need clarity. They don't want it. They need it. Some people need security. Some people need harmony. Some people need invention. Some people need ingenuity. Some people need, big picture. There are very specific needs that we have. And once you identify those and you align your life strategically to getting more of these things, your whole world changes. You can never be the same again. The box opens up and you can decide how much to tap into it, but you will be forever changed. And
Yeah.
my work is around joy strategy, and you can reach me at Headspace NC, just like it says Headspace. What's going on up here? We do heady stuff. Headspace and NC for North Carolina.com. You'll find out everything about me. You can join my mailing list. I send out tips 2 or 3 times a week around joy and strategy joy. And you can schedule time with me, 30 minutes. Free, just to chat and see how I can help you and whether we make a good fit. And yeah, I'd love to work with you all.
Awesome. Is this correct, Angela? Headspace,
Make me have to classes.
NC.com. Is that right?
Looks right.
Okay. Okay. Let me just say this. Black don't crack because you look fabulous. Okay. You look fabulous. I'm just like, ooh, 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 ooh. That is so encouraging. Okay. I love it. Okay. So for real, this is the last question, and I'm going to read the chat. Okay. So if there's a Black woman watching this right now, and she is saying, you know what? It must be nice that you guys can sit and talk about joy, but I got too much going on. I got bills to pay. I don't have time to be talking about no joy. Joy, what are you talking about? I got to work, right? What would you say to her?
I got to work too. I mean, it's not an either or. It's how do you work? How do you work? How do you show up? What example are you setting? Those things matter too. The work can look a certain way. You can choose the work to be a different thing. Real quick, one of my clients, one of the biggest issues that she had was she was working the night shift, and she'd been doing it for decades. Started working together, and she started to explain how important it was for her to not be doing that, but she didn't have language to even ask for a change. About 2 months ago, I heard from her, and she is no longer working the night shift. So it's not a matter of working or not working and time and not time, but you can really put some power into how that work looks and
Yeah.
what kind of work you're doing and those types of things. So keep working. I'm working.
Yeah. So keep working. And then what would you say to her about the joy part? Right. So if a black woman's like, I'm too busy, I don't have time for joy. The joy, it must be nice for you guys. So we're clearly saying we all work and
Right.
we still know how to center joy. Okay. But yeah.
Joy and work are not two separate things, right? If you're working in corporate, for example, and you know the things that you need and your gifts, use those things at work and they will bring joy. Use those things wherever you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In this point in my life, what I've done, I have built my business around things that bring me joy. My podcast was a joy decision. And let me mention Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Yes. I love I love that podcast with you and your best friend. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love it. Yes.
That was a joy decision, right? So again, it's not work is here and joy is here. You got to work. You better find ways of integrating the two.
And tell me again, so it's Black Boomer
Besties from Brooklyn.
Black Boomer Besties. I love to see you guys talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
From Brooklyn. Okay, let me make sure I got this right. Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Correct.
Okay, guys, check out this channel, please. It's beautiful. I love to see you guys talk and talk about your history, and I think it's beautiful. I just love it. I love it. Okay, Lola.
For 40 years, we've been best friends.
How long?
47.
Wow, that's
Met
amazing.
High school, and we have been best friends since we were 15.
That's amazing. What a gift. What a blessing. Yes, yes, yes. Lola, what about for you? What would you say to a Black woman watching right now and she's saying, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. You guys can do that, but I don't have time for that. What would you say to her? What words of wisdom can you offer to her?
I don't like using scare tactics, but I know a lot of women that you said that and they're no longer with us.
That's point. That's mic drop. You know what I'm saying? I can even say it right. Mic drop. Yes.
They're no longer with us because they had that same mindset. They had that superwoman cape on. They never put themselves first. They always put themselves last. And they're no longer here to tell the story or even to help raise those kids that they wanted to do everything for. They're not here. We're talking about women that are dying in numbers in their 40s and in their 30s and in their 50s, dropping dead from stress.
Yep.
Dropping dead because they martyred themselves.
Yep.
Right? I don't want to be that kind of martyr. If I'm going to be a martyr for anything, I do want to be a martyr for joy. But I'm not going to be a martyr for stressing myself out at the expense of other people and at the expense of my health and my mental health, my physical and my mental health. I'm not doing it.
You said both. I'm so glad you said both, right? Because what I've experienced is Black women who not only get very sick physically, but not very well mentally, right? So depression, anxiety, trauma symptoms, all of that. And Lola, anger. Yes, agitation.
How many Black women are walking around here angry? You're angry because you haven't taken the time to sit with yourself, to connect back to yourself, as Shauna said, become a human being again. You walking around here not feeling validated. You haven't even validated yourself. So how do you expect other people to validate you when you haven't even validated yourself? But you got all the time to martyr yourself and do everything for everybody else. And you haven't put on the mask for yourself. You are no good for anybody else if you're not good to yourself.
That's so true. And Lola, I appreciate that you brought this to the conversation because I don't think we talk about it enough. Right?
We don't.
I don't think we talk about it enough. Like we might hear like ramblings, but if you look at what's happening in terms of Black women, very high profile Black women dying prematurely, Pay
I
attention
talked
to
about
that.
it. I
Yes.
talked about it. There was a Black lady who committed suicide, who was working at a college. She was being had this microaggression, and she committed suicide. There was
Yeah.
another Black college president who dropped dead on stage.
Yep. Yep.
Dropped dead on stage. We
Yep.
had another Black president who had to step down because she was getting bullied and threatened, and her life. Like, this is happening all across not just America, the
The
world.
world.
They are gunning for Black women. They know
Yeah.
that Black women are the most enterprising, the most creative, the most
Educated.
sustainable, the most dedicated and loyal group of people that will work and work because they know it's in us to work ourselves to the bone.
Yep.
Right? Because that's what our grandmamas did. That's what Big Mama did.
And it's
That's
through
what
the
our
slavery
aunties and our
too.
mamas did.
Exactly. That's how we were brought to this country. And that's how colonialism everywhere, that's how they have treated us. Like we are workhorses, and then we've internalized it to the detriment of us, right? Now, something I want to say to Lola, and I appreciate that you talked about these women, because I've done videos about Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey, Dr. what's her name? Dr. Epps, right? At Temple, who dropped dead or fell ill at a school event, and the school event kept going on, right? There are a lot of Black women that we've lost prematurely, and pay attention to that, because no job is worth our lives, right? And it's very important for us to have that work-life balance. Work should not be like this. That's just not healthy, and it's not sustainable. So I appreciate you said it. If it scares people, it needs to. You need to be aware of that. You need to be scared about that and not want that for your life. So thank you, Lola. What about for you, April? What would you say to the Black women or Black women who say this?
Well, if they say it the way you said it, then I would be like, oh, you're absolutely right. Like if you are sitting up there looking at us and we make you feel some type of way, just pouring into each other, just sugary, sappy, sweet over each other, just laughing and smiling and living, walking and breathing in our joy, then what do they say? Like, that's a you problem, not a me problem. So if that is how you truly feel, must be nice. Then I'm going to say you're absolutely right. However, if someone is sitting there like, it must be nice, they have time to think about joy, they're so happy, they're such and such, then I will tell them, of course, I'm always going to ride for the underdog. So I took notes and wrote this down. And I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time I was happy? And go back however far you have to go to childhood, to when you were out there taking over for the 99 and the 2000. Okay. Like I was, when it was, I shared with Shauna that, I did triathlons for over a decade. Was it when you were, riding a bike when you were a kid? Was it when you were dancing or singing, cooking, whatever it is? I also want you to think about specifically that moment. Describe it to yourself. What were you wearing? What are the sounds? What did you hear? How did you feel? Just get engrossed in the senses. And then if some of you, who this would be me, would be like, I don't remember because I don't have the capacity to even go back that far, then do something that's a little bit lighter. What were some past hobbies, some past passions? Say that 2 times fast. Some past passions, some interests, some things that lit you up, and start there. What are some things that, even if it's not something you can do in that moment, again, when you are looking for things, they present themselves to you. So if you're looking for things to start having new hobbies or interests, then again, your mindset, just like how I said, if you got the stank mindset, then you're going to have stank results. All you're going to see is stank. All you're going to feel is that jealousy. All you're going to, think about is how that's not you, or it can't be you. But if you are looking for an interest, looking for ways that joy can show up in your life, thinking about and meditating and getting granular on the ways that joy has shown up before, or even happiness. Because again, they're different, you know, but if you can start there, then again, those increments, you just take the steps, as I call it, dip your little pinky toe in, okay? and it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
Eventually it's going to come back because we're in there somewhere. Whether they tried to force it out of us, whether they tried to beat it out of us, whether they tried to shame it out of us, whether they tried to get us to conform and be like everyone else, tried to make us fear for our jobs and our livelihood, we're still in there.
Yeah.
And that is the quickest way to get there, is to just start calling her. That's what I did. Yeah. And I started listening for her voice, and it was a whisper. And then when I got to some place, she was like, yes, high five. I'm here. You're here. And that's when I was wearing bikinis and got my nose pierced. So that's what I would say.
Yes. She's in there. You got to find her.
Yeah, she's there. And even though, and here's the thing too, it is like I was reunited with the me that was hanging, you know, I say like with the Kung Fu grip. It was tried to be beat out of me. It was the church tried to shame it out of me. Work did try to scare me to conform, and with education and the whole Black excellence checklist, but it didn't work. And that part of me that said, it was like embers, you know, just a little bit of ash that had some kind of, you know, orange in there, but the fire is there. She is there. Yeah. And when you all reunite, oh my goodness, because we are not the same person anymore, but who we are innately, like we are still us, if that makes sense. Absolutely. I'm no longer, you know, 20s and 30s. But this version of me reuniting with who I was put on this earth to be, please. Because this version of me has discretionary income, okay? It's no more like penny drink nights like it was back in the day. Okay, going on dates, being a one-day wonder so I can get a meal and, you know, go to a movie. No, this is like, I'm telling you, when you reunite with her, but the first thing you do is just remember the last time you were happy and hang on to that. And eventually there's going to be even more things to hang on to. Yeah.
Agreed. What about for you, Shauna? What would you say to that Black woman or Black women who are watching right now? Like, that must be nice for you all, but I got bills to pay. I can't even think about joy. What are you talking about? What would you say to her?
Get a bike.
Wait a minute, get a life or get a bike?
Get a bike.
Get a bike. No, I mean, every time we meet together, I can talk all day long about how I was reminded of 8-year-old little Shauna who used to ride her bike through the neighborhood and was only allowed to ride to the end of the block. But my brother could ride all over North Carolina if he felt like it, but he never did. And so knowing that someone else was able to do something that I really, really wanted to do, and I couldn't do it because I was a girl, and not just a girl, but a Black girl in a predominantly white neighborhood, that I just remember as a child feeling I can't do something because I'm a Black woman. And that has pissed me off ever since I could remember. But I also that voice was much louder than my desire to actually do something about it until the pandemic. And I mean, as Lola was talking, I had to like grab some tissue because Lola and I have talked many times on her podcast, as in our conversations. April, we've chatted about this a little bit also. Like, I didn't know what else to do in the pandemic except go grab that bike and just go to the grocery store, go to the post office. I didn't know. I literally did not know what else to do. And I'm so grateful that somebody created a bike and that my housemates at that time had a bike that I could borrow, and I could just take my anger out on a bike.
Yes.
All the anger of what I have dealt with in my life, of being a dark-skinned, attractive, thicker than cold peanut butter, you know, talented, creative, nurturing, warm, welcoming, inviting, all of the adjectives and adverbs, and yet still feeling like I was this big, even though I had so much inside of me, so many things inside of me that other people wish that they would buy it if they could, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But still feeling like I had to be pushed down and put in a place. And I'm telling you, like I still struggle with survivor's guilt when it comes to what we experienced in the pandemic. But I also know that when I hear, when I think about that Black woman that you're personifying, that may be saying those words, number one, she sounds like my anxiety.
Oh.
Number one, that's that. So I hear that voice every day. So just know that, Black woman, sis, if you're saying that right now, that might just be your anxiety talking.
True.
It might just be, number one. Number two, the way that what motivated me to start prioritizing joy, not introducing it or you know, kind of getting a little bit of it, but no, forget that, we are prioritizing it.
Yes.
What made me really do that was, as we've been talking about in this hour, 2 hours that we've been chatting, I swear I could talk to y'all all day. But one of the things, another thing that helped me to learn how to prioritize joy was, if I can't do it for myself, let me take that martyrdom that I have and do it for my ancestors.
That part, yes.
If I can't do it, I don't have children, right? I got plants and I babysit dogs occasionally. So I don't have children, but if I had children, I would do it for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would do it for my aunties and my uncles, and not uncles, excuse me, we're talking about Black women, but I would do it for those who, I would do it to set an example.
Yes.
And I would try to find joy as much as possible, even if it ain't for me. Again, if you want to be that martyr, go find joy and blow your own damn mind. And that's true. That's true. And the more you find it, the science of positivity, the science of happiness, the science of thriving, just puts Black women at the center. We're like experts at it. We were born to be experts at finding joy. Why? Because the world knows who we are.
Yes.
That's why we get worked to death.
That's why they're so threatened by us.
That's why the threat is there.
Yep.
That's why the pressure is there. That's why all of those things are there. It's because we dope, y'all.
Yes.
No, like,
yes.
Like for real. And you gotta believe, you gotta get yourself, you gotta go to Walmart, Target, online, Amazon, wherever. Get yourself a full-length mirror, get a post-it and say, you are dope.
Yes.
You gotta believe, you gotta just look for things that are dope, the things that you see yourself in. You know, again, for me, it was a bike at 8 years old. When it comes to singing, I remember plenty of Sundays where I had the lead song and just making them, you know, fall out and in the Holy Spirit on Sunday. Like I thrived off of that. I was doing it. And when it comes to dancing, oh my gosh, even though I've never performed in my life, I know y'all are watching. Y'all can't believe that a body that's this thick can move around as fast as it can. I know you looking. And I have to know, and I have to believe. I have to do it, not because of my ego, but because it is therapy.
Yes.
It is a daily reminder, or not daily, if not daily, a regular reminder of the dopeness that the universe, that God, that whoever your deity is, put inside of you. I could have been anything else. I could have been a plant. I could have been a dog. I could have been like an ant on the street. I could have been a construction machine. I could have been anything, but God made me a Black woman.
Yeah.
That was born, you know, so I have to honor that. I have to say, I didn't have no choice in that. But since this is the hand that I was dealt, let's see what she can do. Let's try this out. So
Yes.
that for me is like, you may not believe you may not believe me, you may not believe the five of us.
Mm-hmm.
Find a way to blow your own mind then. Just try it out. And I promise you, you'll get to know a version of yourself that you can't believe exists, but you are so grateful exists. And you'll naturally start connecting to other dope Black women, to other dope people in your life. Like you'll realize how connected we are energetically to people. You'll realize how you'll realize how magnetizing you are, not only to other people, but just to yourself. You'll start drawing joy in. Money will start coming to you. People will start coming to you. Again, we can do a podcast about my little cycle bay, y'all, okay? I can't believe that I can't. It blows my mind that I have his attention the way that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't, I had to take that risk.
Yeah.
Not just for myself, but I had to say, you know what, my mother didn't have this privilege. My grandmama didn't have this privilege.
Yeah.
I know my great grandmother didn't have this. Let me do it for them. And you just do it. And then you just realize that you are healing yourself and you are healing generations of trauma. You're healing generations of women in your lineage who was doing so much to try to find a little bit of joy. So that's what I'm gonna say to you, sis. Like, go find Simon, blow your own mind.
Okay, so I saw in the chat you preaching a sermon. Okay, Shauna up here preaching an entire sermon again. Yes, she is. So I want to just say just a few things, and I'm going to read the checks. I know we're way over. So I want to say, Shauna, what you talked about was ways that we can rechannel the anxiety, the anger, in terms of things that we love to do. The other thing you talked about was not only healing ourselves with joy, but we are healing our ancestors because we are able to access joy in a way that they weren't. And so if they were not able to, we think about, generational transmission of trauma, we are creating generational transmission of healing and joy. And for us to remember that and to be devoted to that, so the future generations know they deserve joy. And I think what all of you are saying too is, as Black women, to know that we deserve joy and that we prioritize it. The other thing, I would say something about what you said, April, is that connecting to the little girl within us who experienced joy, the 8-year-old Shauna who was riding her bike, the little girl within us who experienced joy, but maybe was beaten out, right? Or maybe people told us you can't do this or whatever. How do we connect to her? Okay. How do we find her? She's in there. How do we find her? And how do we honor her? So something that we did, Alicia Renice did during the Job Liberation Virtual Summer for Black Women, we connected to our little girl in terms of reconnecting to our joy and our dreams. So if you want to see that, get the replay. Okay. So again, I'm going to read the community. This was so powerful. And I want to make sure that we give honor to the community too. Okay. Oh, it's very active. Okay. Greetings, everyone. Yes, it is. I'm ready to walk away almost every day. Yes. So I hope that you were able to hear. We're talking about joy in general, but also, because I talk about toxic jobs so much, when you know your worth and you know that there's other things for you in terms of options, then you are able to start seeing what are some other avenues that I can pursue in terms of professional opportunities. When you love yourself enough and you are willing to really center yourself and be honest with yourself, it can even translate to a job and making plans to leave that job, okay? You have 5.55 thousand subscribers. 555 is considered to be an angel number that is set to represent change, good luck, transformation, freedom, and personal growth. This is befitting your channel. Thank you. That is so sweet. Thank you so much. I received that. Much appreciation and gratitude to you, Dr. Kamani, for gathering this esteemed panel of prolific, powerful Black women the second time around. Yeah, I love my sisters, okay? I'm trying to elevate so they can share information with everybody. Hi, Angela. It was great meeting you yesterday. Hi, everyone. Okay, let's see. Sending healing vibrations to your lovely daughter, Lola. I'm a call center agent for Best Buy. These people yelling at me about missed fridge deliveries is driving me insane. Mm, You see, we're all shaking our heads, right? So we hope that you feel the support from us. And the hope is that you are able to at some point pivot out of that because you deserve better than that. Oh God, had a panic attack just returning from break. Okay, so remember pause, right? Also thinking about what are the moments that you can take to connect to yourself and also look at other options you might have, such as therapy, connecting to other people around you, and really centering joy because that sounds like a very, very stressful job. April's stoic transparency of being liberated from understanding that she was created free is majestically poignant, sending healing vibes your way. Oh, talking to the woman that's why I love this chat, this community, because they are pouring support to you, sis, at Best Buy. I've worked in a few different call centers. The way people yell at us, ooh, Black women are told to get on the highway of go, achieve, do, help, etc. But what we're not told is how to take an exit and brake. Yes, the purpose of an exit on the interstate is maintenance, fuel, refresh, recharge. In the 20th century, that leads to burnout. Yes. So we have to prioritize that for ourselves. Yes. They said Superwoman, that Superwoman song was her jam. But oh wait, we already saw that one. Okay, let's see. Okay, these W folks who operate like master on the job have Black women working like modern day slaves, infringing on all of our time, even after we've left the day, still in contact. And I just want to add to that. That's anybody. I just think that's anybody engaging in white supremacist behaviors. It's not just particular groups. Okay, so I think that's across the board. Okay, another person speaking life into sis who's at Best Buy. I'm sorry you were going through this. I hope you give yourself extra grace and kindness. Yes, I speak life over us all. May we all get out of these toxic jobs and get into our lives. So true, Ashe. That was physical and psychological abuse, getting beat. Same thing here, April. I wish I'm on call 12 hours. Ooh, oof. Okay. I hope you access the resources, sis, and start making exit plans, okay? Because that's very traumatic, what you're describing. April, I've gotten to the point where I just delete their emails, never saw it. You must desire joy, get your why together, then seek it. The morning papers, great way to reflect, gives you permission. Dr. Kamani, please have this panel on a regular rotation to discuss topics. Their energetic frequencies and spiritual essences flow with a transformative vibration. Ooh, received. Okay. Okay. I got you. I got you, sis. Okay. Shauna is the essence of joy. Shauna's essence of joy for real. Make no mistake, white folks are intentionally coming for Black women because they see our inherent power. And again, I would co-sign that it's not just them. Okay. Because my toxic work experience, it was one white woman, but it was the majority of people of color. Okay. So it's not just that. So be mindful of that. MapQuest took me way back. MySpace. Yes. I had Friendster and LiveJournal. Hand claps. All the blossoms are precious in the garden. No competition. No. Angela has that tranquil elegance of class and serenity. I agree. April was an amazing MC. Yes, she was. She was on fire. Hello, Dr. Kamani, sending hugs to all the beautiful warrior women. Peace and love. That's my Spelman sister, Natasha, who was one of the sponsors of the summit. So essentially, Chef B does plant-based delivered meals for people who live within the United States. So check her out, okay? Let's see, very profound. Your joy is a terrible thing to waste. They like that, Angela. Say that louder for the people in the back. Yeah, right. Your joy is a terrible thing. To waste. How do you work? Word. Thank you for providing the link. We get to choose joy. The blinders are off. You have to create a sweet spot around your work. I've seen some of your episodes, Angela. They are wonderful. Yes, they are. In case no one has said it to us at all, it is okay for us to truly love ourselves and embrace our lives. Maybe you start sleeping in. Maybe you don't work late. Maybe you take one day off a week. Point taken. Yes, I know that's right. Loving ourselves is healing work and one path to joy. We are worthy. How do we deal with the fear they have of us? We can't worry about the fear they have of us. That's always going to be there, right? We have to find out ways to protect ourselves and to move out of spaces that harm us. That let us not spend our energy trying to do that. You'll never win at that. Okay. You'll never win at that because you're dealing with people's deep seated insecurities and stereotypes. You'll never do that. So please don't spend your energy trying to address their fear. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Absolutely. Blow your mind. Life coaching teens and young adults is the plan. Let's see. Autonomous oppression is a real thing. They will use it to hurt us. All skinfolk and kinfolk. My management team is Black, and this has been the most traumatic work experience ever. I'm definitely seeking other opportunities. The stress is too much. Yes. So, community, I want to say thank you so much for being so active and so supportive. I want to say again, thank you to my panel of powerful, brilliant, joy-filled Black women who just warms my heart and my spirit and my soul. Okay. So, as you guys requested, they'll be coming back. I'll be reaching out to them again to come back. Okay. So, everyone, as I said before, the Juneteenth discount of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, that replay, the discount is over at 11:59 p.m. tonight. 20% discount. Type in liberation in the discount code. Also, please subscribe to everyone here who got a YouTube channel. Subscribe to their channels, okay? Also, please give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with at least 2 other Black women. And make sure you like and comment, okay? So I will see everyone later. Take care, everyone. Remember the joy, okay? Connect to your joy. Bye, everyone.